Nathan's hands was shaking as he gripped the steering wheel, rain hitting his old car. The engine sounded sick. In the back seat, 4-year-old Sophie hugged her stuffed bunny, Floppy, her face pale. "Are we there, Daddy?" she asked, her voice tiny. "Soon, Sophie," Nathan said, but he was lost. His phone was dead, and the paper with his sister Lisa's address was wet and blurry. It was 2:45 a.m., and they were cold and scared. Nathan kept checking the rearview mirror, sure a car was following. A week ago, a man with a rough voice called, asking about Marie, Nathan's wife who died. The calls scared him. He had to keep Sophie safe. He thought Marie's death wasn't just cancer. It happened too fast, and he wondered if her job was to blame. Life was hard since Marie died 2 years ago. Nathan used to fix cars and live in a happy house with Sophie's laughs. But Marie worked at a company that stole money from people. She found proof on a USB drive and told Nathan she'd tell the police. Then she got sick, cancer, the doctor said, but it came too quick. She was healthy, then gone in months. Nathan found a note in her stuff. "If I'm gone, they did it." It made him think the company hurt her to keep her quiet. He lost his job, missing work to care for Sophie, and they moved from motel to motel. Nathan said he was looking for Lisa, but he was running from that man who wanted Marie's proof. Sophie coughed. A wet sound that scared Nathan brought him back to the present. Her jacket was thin, her shoes wet. He stopped on a quiet Maplewood street, grabbed Sophie, and wrapped her in his jacket. He saw a house with a light on and knocked 3 times, hoping for help, but saw a shadow in the rain, his heart beating fast. Elise sat in her armchair, a cold cup of tea in her hands. It was almost 3 a.m., and the rain was loud outside her small Maplewood home. She couldn't sleep. Her house felt like a dark, empty box, heavy with loneliness. At 42, Elise loved kids but couldn't have any. She grew up in a big family with 4 siblings, their house full of noise and love. Elise dreamed of being a mom, baking cookies, reading stories, teaching kids to draw. She'd play with dolls, pretending they were her babies. But after marrying at 24, doctors said she couldn't have kids. She tried everything, but it didn't work, and her husband left at 31, leaving Elise alone. She worked at the library, helping kids find books, and at the community center, teaching art and reading. Kids called her Auntie Elise, and she loved their hugs and messy drawings. But at night, her house was quiet. Her walls had kids' artwork, crayon hearts, painted stars, but no one was there. She tried caring for other people's children once, but her small money and being single made it too hard. Friends asked her to dinners, but she felt out of place with their families and stopped going. She spent nights with tea and her cat, Muffin, watching families pass her window, parents with strollers, kids with dogs. Her heart hurting. She'd sit by the fireplace, looking at empty chairs, praying for a sign her love wasn't wasted. A loud knock came at 3 a.m. Elise's heart jumped. She checked through the peephole and saw a man, soaked, holding a shivering little girl. He looked scared, checking behind him. Elise opened the door a bit. "Can I help you?" "I'm sorry," the man said, his voice shaky. "My car broke down and my daughter's cold. I thought this was my sister's house, but I got the address wrong. Can we come in to warm up?" Elise saw the girl's pale face and opened the door wide. "Come in. Hurry." Nathan carried Sophie inside, glancing at the street. Elise grabbed blankets and wrapped Sophie tight, turning up the heat. Sophie, shivering, looked up at Elise's kind face, her blue eyes soft like her mom's used to be. Elise rubbed Sophie's hands, and Sophie felt warm for the first time that night. "You're warm," Sophie whispered, snuggling closer, thinking Elise's smile made her feel safe, like a cozy hug. Elise's heart warmed, like a light turned on in her dark house, pushing away her loneliness. She tucked the blanket tighter, brushing hair from Sophie's face. Sophie held Elise's hand and smiled. "Can you read me a story?" she asked, liking how Elise's voice was gentle, like her mom's when she read bedtime stories. Elise grabbed the runaway bunny and read softly, Sophie leaning against her. Sophie loved how Elise made the bunny's voice funny, giggling at the silly parts. Elise's hand was soft, and Sophie felt like Floppy was happy too. "Do you like bunnies?" Elise asked after the story. Sophie nodded, hugging Floppy. His name's Floppy. He keeps me safe. Elise smiled, touching Floppy's ear. Floppy's lucky to have you. Sophie giggled, thinking Elise was nice, like a fairy godmother who made everything better. Her laugh lit up Elise's heart, making her lonely nights feel far away. By morning, Sophie woke and ran to Elise, holding a crayon. Draw with me, she asked, excited because Elise looked happy to see her, not tired like Daddy sometimes was. Elise sat on the floor, helping Sophie draw a yellow sun with a smiley face. What's your favorite color? Sophie asked, wanting to know more about her new friend. Blue like the sky, Elise said. Sophie drew a blue cloud, giggling when Elise clapped. You make it happy, Sophie said, hugging Elise's arm, thinking Elise's laugh was like sunshine, making her feel warm inside. Elise's house felt bright, her loneliness melting. She felt needed, her heart warm with Sophie's joy. Later, Elise showed Sophie her garden. These are my flowers, she said, pointing to daisies. Sophie's eyes widened. She thought Elise looked pretty kneeling by the flowers, like a princess in a story. They're pretty like you, Miss Elise, Sophie said. Elise helped Sophie pick a daisy to tuck behind her ear. Now you're pretty like them, Elise said. Sophie hugged her tight, feeling special because Elise cared about her, like she was important. Elise felt Sophie's small arms like a burst of light in her quiet world. That afternoon, Sophie found Elise's old music box on a shelf. What's this? She asked, curious. Elise wound it up, and a soft tune played. It was my mom's, Elise said. She danced with me to it. Sophie swayed, holding Floppy, thinking Elise's story was magical. Dance with me, Sophie said. Elise twirled her gently, their giggles filling the room. You're good at dancing, Sophie said, loving how Elise made her feel like a ballerina. Elise's heart swelled. The music box abridged to Sophie's joy, making her feel like a mom. Mrs. Lopez, Elise's neighbor, brought food and clothes for Sophie. Small town, she said. We help each other. But she whispered, he's scared. I saw a car going round the neighborhood last night. Joe, a mechanic across the street, towed Nathan's car. I'll fix it for the kid, he said. He saw a dent, like the car was hit, and told Elise, something's wrong. Elise's worry grew when she found a note in Nathan's jacket. You can't hide. I know what she took. She hid it, staying close to Sophie, who thought Elise was brave, like a hero in her stories. That night, Elise heard sounds outside. She checked it out and saw a man in a dark coat by the street lamp, staring at her house, talking on a phone. He vanished into the rain. Elise's heart beat fast. She sat by Sophie, who slept in her lap, holding the sun drawing tight. Sophie moved slightly, feeling safe because Elise was there, like a shield against bad dreams. The next day, Sophie wanted to bake cookies. Elise got flour and sugar, and Sophie stood on a stool, stirring dough. Do you bake with your cat? Sophie asked, giggling, thinking Elise was funny. Muffin just watches, Elise said, laughing. You're my best friend, Sophie said, smearing flour on Elise's cheek, loving how Elise didn't get mad, just smiled. Elise wiped flour off Sophie's nose, and they ate warm cookies, giggling. Sophie thought Elise's kitchen was the happiest place, like a candy house in a fairy tale. Elise's big smile showed years of held-back happiness. At the library, Elise saw the man in the dark coat across the street, watching her. Her hands shook, but she hurried home to Sophie, who was coloring. Sophie smiled, showing a stick figure with a big smile next to a sun. I drew you, Miss Elise, she said, proud because Elise always loved her pictures. Elise hugged her, and Sophie felt warm, thinking Elise was the best grown-up ever. What do you want to be when you grow up? Elise asked. A teacher like you, Sophie said, wanting to be like Elise, who made kids happy. Elise's heart swelled, Sophie's light keeping the darkness away. The next evening, Elise and Sophie sat on the porch, watching stars. Which one's your favorite? Elise asked. Sophie pointed to a bright one. That one, 'cause it shines like you, she said, thinking Elise was sparkly, like a star who made her smile. Elise hugged her, tears in her eyes, feeling like Sophie's star had filled her empty heart. The next morning, Nathan sat with Elise while Sophie slept. His eyes were red, his voice low. Elise, Sophie's happier with you than she's been since her mom died. You make her smile, make her feel safe. I'm scared I can't protect her. Marie's death wasn't normal. I think they hurt her because of what she knew. He paused, hands shaking. Please, take care of Sophie. Love her like she's yours. If something happens to me, promise you'll keep her close. Elise's throat felt tight, tears in her eyes. I promised Nathan. I already love her like my own. Nathan hugged her, his trust filling her heart with warmth. Sophie's light now her purpose. At the community center's welcome party, kids played with Sophie, making bracelets. Sophie ran to Elise, slipping a pink bracelet on her wrist. It's for you, she said, excited because Elise's eyes lit up, making her feel proud. Elise hugged her, whispering, I love it, sweetie. Sophie thought Elise's hugs were the best, like a warm blanket. Later, Sophie tugged Elise's hand. Can we make a secret handshake? She asked, wanting something special with Elise. They made one, clap, snap, wiggle fingers, laughing as they practiced. Only for us, Sophie whispered, feeling like Elise was her special person. Elise felt chosen, her loneliness gone, their secret a warm bond. Mrs. Lopez whispered, that strange man was at the shop, asking for Nathan. Elise found a photo in Nathan's jacket, Marie, with a USB drive labeled proof, and Marie's note, if I'm gone, they did it. Elise's heart raced. Did the company kill Marie? Joe got Nathan a job interview at the auto shop, where the owner hired him for his car-fixing skills. But Joe found a scratched license plate, like someone tried to pry it off. That night, Elise heard footsteps and saw the man trying to open Nathan's car. He ran when a dog barked, but Elise's fear grew. 3 days after arriving in Maplewood, Elise took Sophie to the park. Sophie swung on the swings, shouting, Push me, Miss Elise. Elise pushed gently and Sophie squealed, thinking Elise made swings fun, like a magic ride. You're the best, Sophie said, hugging Elise's legs, her heart full because Elise always played with her. Elise knelt, hugging her back. They sat on a blanket, sharing a juice box. Do you like juice? Sophie asked, curious. Only with you, Elise teased, tickling Sophie's nose. Sophie laughed, thinking Elise was the funniest, her happiness a light that filled Elise's life. But when Elise turned to grab Floppy from the bench, a man in a dark coat, Vince, grabbed Sophie from the swings, covering her mouth and running to a car nearby. Sophie's hushed cry broke Elise's heart. Elise screamed, chasing them, but the car sped off. Sophie, scared, clutched Floppy, wishing Elise would find her, knowing she'd never give up. Elise's legs gave out, and she called Joe, sobbing. He took Sophie. Elise, Nathan, and Joe rushed to the police, who put out an alert. Nathan was shaking, saying, I need to find Lisa. She might know where the USB drive is. Maybe that's what he wants. He explained he'd lost touch with Lisa after Marie's death. They fought when he blamed her for not visiting Marie in the hospital, and he only knew she lived near Maplewood. Mrs. Lopez overheard and said, There's a Lisa Carter at the bakery in town. I saw her name on a community center sign-up sheet for a bake sale. Nathan called the bakery, hands trembling. Lisa answered, her voice soft but shocked. Nathan, is that you? Nathan choked up. Lisa, I'm so sorry for everything. Sophie's been kidnapped, and I need your help. Lisa's voice cracked. I've missed you so much. I moved to Maplewood to start over, hoping you'd find me. What's wrong? Nathan told her about Sophie, Marie's death, and the USB drive. Lisa gasped, Marie sent me a package before she died. A USB drive in a small box with a note saying to keep it safe. I didn't know what it was and locked it in my safe. Nathan begged her to bring it to the police, saying it might save Sophie. Lisa rushed to the station, her brown hair messy, flour on her apron from baking. Nathan saw her and froze, tears in his eyes. Lisa, he whispered. She ran to him, hugging him tight, both crying. I thought I'd lost you forever, Lisa said, her voice breaking. I'm sorry I wasn't there for Marie. I was scared and stupid. Nathan shook his head, holding her shoulders. I was wrong to push you away. I was so mad, but I needed you. You're here now, and Sophie needs us. Lisa nodded, pulling the USB drive from her pocket, her hands shaking. This is from Marie. Let's get Sophie back. They hugged again, tears mixing, their broken bond mending like a puzzle clicking into place. Elise watched, her heart full, seeing their love rebuild for Sophie's sake. Mrs. Lopez spread the word about Sophie, and Maplewood jumped into action. Neighbors checked streets, asking about a strange car. Mrs. Lopez made flyers with Sophie's picture, handing them out at the diner and shops. Joe remembered seeing a similar car near the old mill, a quiet spot outside town. He told the police, who headed there with Nathan, Elise, and Lisa, who gave the USB drive to the officers. Elise, clutching Sophie's sun drawing, prayed her light would come back. At the mill, police found Vince's car behind a shed. Inside, Sophie was tied up but safe, her bunny beside her. Vince was on the phone, yelling about the USB drive. Police surrounded the shed, and when Vince tried to run, Joe and Nathan tackled him, holding him until officers cuffed him. Elise ran to Sophie, untied her, and hugged her tight, tears falling. "You're safe, sweetie," Sophie said, clinging to her, whispering. "You found me, Miss Elise." Sophie's heart soared, knowing Elise was her hero, just like she believed. Elise's heart glowed, Sophie's light back in her life. Police found papers in Vince's car linking him to a company's crimes and texts demanding the USB drive. They arrested him for kidnapping and fraud. The USB drive had proof of the company's money stealing, names, bank accounts, crimes. Elise showed Nathan the note, photo, and Marie's warning. "If I'm gone, they did it." Nathan's face was pale. Marie worked at a company that stole money. She found proof on that USB drive. "She told me she'd tell the police, then got sick, cancer, they said, but it was too fast. I think they poisoned her to keep her quiet. Vince chased us, threatened Sophie, and took her to force me to give up the drive." Elise nodded. Maplewood saved her. Police found records in Vince's car, suggesting the company used toxins to make Marie sick, covering it up as cancer. Vince was locked up for kidnapping, fraud, and conspiracy to harm Marie. The USB drive got the company's bosses arrested. Nathan and Lisa sat together at the station, holding hands, catching up. Lisa promised to visit Sophie every week, baking her favorite cookies. Nathan smiled, his family whole again. Nathan got the job at the auto shop and moved into a small apartment. Sophie spent days with Elise. One afternoon, Sophie curled up on Elise's couch, asking for a story. Elise read Goodnight Moon, and Sophie snuggled close, whispering, "I like your voice, Miss Elise," thinking Elise's voice was the coziest sound, like a lullaby. Elise kissed her forehead, Sophie's warmth like a lamp in her once dark house. At the spring fair, Sophie's sun drawing hung next to Elise's painting of a rainy night. Nathan worked at the shop, Lisa visited often, bringing cookies, and Sophie called Elise's house home. Sophie gave Elise a drawing, Nathan, Elise, Lisa, and Sophie under a heart. "You're my family," Sophie said, hugging Elise, her eyes shining because she loved Elise like a mom. Elise hugged her back, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "I've waited long for this." Those words held her whole heart, years of loneliness, praying for a child to love, answered by Sophie's giggles, Nathan's trust, and Lisa's return. Her dream of being a mom, of having a family to fill her empty house, had come true. Elise hung the drawing on her fridge, her house glowing with love, no longer empty.